In KBC Channel 1, you are in time for BizCheck. My name is Betty Kiptum. Over the next 2 hours, we shall be having some very pertinent conversations. The first conversation is on matters hospitality. What are the new trends? How is Kenya ensuring that its hospitality products are meeting the expectations of the consumer, both local and international? And also, we shall be teaming up with we shall be taking you to the CS of Education. Our team is there ready to have a conversation with the Cabinet Secretary in charge of education on matters capitation and other matters affecting the education sector. All that is coming up this morning on BizCheck. But first, we have the conversation on hospitality. And my guest this morning is Jackton Amutala, who is a hospitality expert with about 3 decades of experience in marketing Kenya's hospitality products. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Kiptum.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
I mean, 3 decades, I'm sure you have seen quite a lot in terms of even the industry changing.
Yes, yeah. I have seen it from analog to digital. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So when we look at how far the industry has come, especially considering the dip during the COVID period and then the recovery, where are we currently?
We have improved, and COVID is behind us, unless another thing happens, but we don't pray for that. We have moved from COVID, but also you should learn to know that everything has a learning lesson. COVID made us to learn that hospitality is not only foreign travel, it's only local, because we survived on locals, and as at now, Kenya invested a lot on local tourism, which has really made hotels to be offload from all those problems. So hotels are really marketing a lot in the local destinations, where you have heard about Tembea Kenya, people have been taken around, so that Kenyans also know their country. So it is also good. It made us to know our country, other than having foreigners coming in Kenya and they know our country better than us. Yes.
And of course, when you're trying to attract these tourists, whether it's domestic or international tourists, the industry needs to sell experiences as opposed to products. How are we when it comes to tailoring experiences for consumers?
Wow, a nice thing. That is where people have been going wrong. People have been putting price before the value, and that is where experience comes in. Hotels have moved from that one, and people are now selling value other than the price. And you'll find that nowadays it's not pegged on stone that you have to go a hotel, and certain hotels are paying only dollars. You can pay Kenya shillings because they are selling value. And there are so many innovations that have come up. You will see with the social media, you will see very many things, people showing how they can do nice cocktails, people showing how they can do different meals, people coming in with the health diets. Before, you would not have something to do with the health drinks, but nowadays they are there because the people are trying to be innovative so that they are also in the market. If you go old school, you will be left down. And that is why the other day, when the people are trying to bring a robot to start serving people, Kenyans started asking what will happen with the local people who are serving. For example, if you bring a robot waiter, what will happen to all the waiters who are in the country? So innovation is there, and we thank God we are moving with it. Most hotels also have gone out of their way to start doing renovations. You've seen some of the hotels in the CBD have closed. Why have they closed? Not that they are not tourists, but the location does not suit that business traveler who's there because of the heavy traffic jams and all that. And the hotels have started being outcast of the city just to ensure that they are actually getting something. So that is the trend.
Let's talk more about the issue of innovation.
Yes.
Of course, there was quite some talk around the robots that were launched in one of the enterprises in Nairobi. And what is the future? Yeah. The robots, will they take over the jobs of those waiters? Is it a service that can be replaced entirely by technology, or we still need that human touch?
The future is still long. We aren't there. You know, we are a third world. Yeah. For us to reach there, it will be difficult. You've seen, we started even trying with this SGR, and we thought it was going to remove all the buses to Mombasa. but they haven't removed because we still need them. So the robots will not remove, but the technology is coming up in terms of the people who are also serving themselves. I've been told to up their standards, that they must make sure that the clients are enjoying. There's another technology that is coming in. It's not a technology, but it's a culture where, like in Europe, when you go there, you go for breakfast, you don't need a waiter to bring you all the things. You pick for your cutlery yourself, you pick your juice, you go and eat, drink, go. You even clean and go. So these are the things that look like LED. So it is important to know that robots will come, but they might not come now. It will be for another generation. If there's another generation after Gen Z, then it is that one, the alpha one.
Okay.
Like that's the CBC, how it's taking over.
Right, and of course, even as we prepare the human resource in these establishments, in the hotel industry, we have to keep that in mind, the issue of technology and innovations that are coming up. And I like that you've mentioned what preparation in terms of, as a person, when you want to serve in this industry, how you can prepare yourself by being updated on technology. Tell us more about that.
The biggest challenge we've had, and the government must come out strongly, is the issue of training.
Okay.
The training, they have allowed so many training institutions, and they have not checked whether they actually meet the standard, the required standards. And this is affecting when people come into the industry. You find that the CV is reading opposite from what the person is doing. Because sometimes people download CVs and send them to an employer. Then when they check, they find that, wow, they have a candidate. But practically when they go there, they are not. Why? We have so many colleges that have opened up, and some that we might call them briefcase, because they don't exist when you look for them properly, but they are there. And they actually get people to pay and go. Because the jobs are very difficult. Sometimes when students finish school, they want to do something, they end up going into those colleges. So the government must make sure that these colleges have been done, and they help us to ensure that all it's well with the colleges. Because like Utali College, it's a renowned college. Boma, just to mention a few. These are colleges, when people come from there, you understand they are looking at the trend. The training structure within these institutions are actually able to meet the standards. But when you have a college you have never heard of, without mentioning names, it becomes a problem when those people come there, because the standard they will set will not be there. And remember, the clientele who is coming to this country, who wants to get services from here, he or she is not only coming to that hotel or place they are, but they are also reading the word Kenya when they go back. Because when they ask, where were you? They will not say the hotel. They have to say the country, then the hotel comes in. So the question is, are we representing Kenya well in terms of service outside the country? That is another thing. So we need to improve more on the technology to make sure we go. Because the other thing we have reached on is like ecotourism. Kenya is going more on ecotourism. What does ecotourism mean? There's a lot of things we need to do, from making sure that we are environmental friendly, all those things that are being done. But now, where are we going? Are hotels moving from serving plastic bottles? When you have plastic on the table serving water, and you are saying you are being eco-friendly, where do you throw the plastic? How do you dispose them? So this is how we need to have the Ministry of Tourism coming out strongly. If they are marketing ecotourism, then they must make sure that it rolls also on. Because in Europe, most of hotels now don't use any more plastic. Plastic is only on transit.
Right. I mean, sustainability is a very big topic right now. And of course, it needs to be, because of, the impact of climate change in the world. And even when you now talk about incorporation of these sustainable practices by the hotel industry, you might find that this is happening. Is it that they are not aware of what they need to do to change these trends, like the simple things, serving of the bottled water and all that? Is it that they are not aware, or is it a big investment that some hotels cannot afford?
The problem is when TRA, Tourism Regulation Funds, will immediately finalize this on matter classification. you know, hotels should be classified. Of late, even motels are calling themselves hotels. So now, when we all cluster all these people under hotels, it becomes a problem. Have you ever seen, maybe in the village, you have reached there and you have seen a hotel written Mombasa Hotel? It's written hotel, but when you enter in, it has 3 rooms. And it doesn't even have a restaurant. But they have written hotel. So if you term that to be a hotel, it becomes a problem. So we also need the TRA when they are going out now to do classification, because soon they are doing classification again for this year. They are going to make sure that this is now aligned so that we know who is hotel. And then the star rating will come in. So when they do star ratings from 1 star, 2 star, they have categories of what is required in those star ratings. So that when clients are booking from Europe, they also come, or even you book, you already also know what you expect from there. But when you go there and you don't know which star is, and you want to make it a star to a different level, it becomes a problem. So how does the issue of bottle affect? If you are charging your accommodation at 4,000 shillings, the plastic bottles at cost, you buy it around 28 shillings. The bottled one, you buy it at 60. You would choose to go the bottled one to make more profits. And with the struggles we are going through because of economy of scales, people would rather go to the cheapest to make sure they also make some coins. And that's where the problem is. Yeah.
So you're saying this is still achievable in the long term?
It is actually achievable in the long run with strict measures. The only thing is people do what is inspected and not expected. So we must put checks and balances in place. Yes.
When you talked about the issue of classification,
yes.
There has been a challenge in the industry in terms of diversification.
Yes.
You might find that the same product or experience you have in the Mara is the same you have somewhere else and in another place. What do industry players need to do to differentiate themselves, you know, to offer something new to the market?
Wow, nice one. There was a time Kenya started where the travel agents in Kenya started a circuit. They used to call it the Big Five. The Big Five had where you are going and what you are going to see. The Big Five circuit. So it was derived from the word Big Five, which was the elephant, lion, leopard, and all that. But they made it Big Five, which was a circuit that a client would move from Nairobi, that is a city tour, goes to Mount Kenya. Then from Mount Kenya they go to Nakuru, which goes to Masai Mara, Amboseli, then Mombasa. So you see, that was the Big Five circuit. Those circuits had specification of what you are going to see, so that it doesn't look like it's just the same. Now, the biggest problem is we dropped the ball and we focused mostly on cost. So we have been looking, Kenyan tourism, when you ask people, you ask any local person, he'll tell you, where do you want to go for holiday? Mombasa. Why? They are going to see the sea. Why not Mount Kenya? It's not only the mountain. Mount Kenya has hotels that actually deal with agro-tourism, agriculture. They deal with agriculture. You go there, you will learn things to do with coffee, you will learn things to do with production of food, they do processing plants and all that. I have visited some hotels like Bantu Africa in Nyeri. They do agriculture, but nobody knows about it. Why? Because we can, as leading players in the industry, have not marketed that. You go to Masai Mara. We all know when you're going to Masai Mara, you will go wildlife and you also see the culture of Kenya, because the Maasais have really stepped on their culture and they have made people to go there. And one of the things that people do in Masai Mara is they will go to Masai Mara and see wildlife and also go to Manyata just to see how really Maasai life is, how they even put on fire with using sticks and all that. That becomes a culture. When you go to coast, people know they are going to relax, the beach, sandy beach, and all that. What else do we have? Western Province. Western Province has the Crying Stone. Have you ever seen where it is? You always talk about the Crying Stone. So what about it? Bullfighting. So what about it? So those are things we need to come back to the drawing board and see that we market this nation according to what it is, so that clients don't see like it's all the same. Remember, chicken is chicken. It depends on the style of cooking and where it is cooked from. So even tourism is the same.
Right. Chicken is chicken indeed. Depends on how you cook it. Yes. And of course, this process of cooking the chicken,
yes.
you know, the tourism product that we are offering.
Yes.
When you mentioned that, I just thought about Baringo, my home county.
Yes.
There's a lot that the counties have to offer.
Very
But
true.
the packaging seems to be a problem, you know, the packaging of the product.
Yes.
How can all the stakeholders, including county governments, ensure that they are playing their part in this marketing of these products?
Wow. You've also reminded me, as much as you remember Baringo as your county, you have reminded me, as you mentioned, I have 3 decades, so I have moved around the country.
Right.
So Baringo was one of the places, and I used to work with block hotels. Block hotels had like Baringo Hotel. It was one of the destinations that clients used to want to go. Why? We dropped the ball, as I said. Then there was a way that Baringo was being marketed for people to know what is there. Nowadays, I would also blame the media. We have put Baringo more on bandits than even tourism. So who would go to Baringo? Because they hear about Tiati, and the first thing that comes in, where is it? In Baringo. Because counties came, Baringo as a whole has become like a place where nobody should go because there's bandits. So you even kill tourism, people would have gone to Baringo because they always associate it to bandits, when actually it's not all. Some people think Baringo is very dry. People don't even know where Baringo starts. You know, Baringo borders Nakuru.
Borders 7 counties.
7 counties. Yeah. And this Baringo, it is very green in some areas that you cannot expect. So it is important for us to know that we need to market the country. We also need to have positive vibes. The biggest problem is we have more negative because people want to hear more the negatives, so we don't talk about the positive ones. Baringo is one of the counties that has a lot of things that people can visit. And you take it, anyone who wants to test, try that hotel. It was the best hotel that time. I don't know whether it existed anymore. I have been going to market the country within the industry, right. And I've gone to all counties. I've gone to all the 47 counties. And I can tell you, the biggest problem we have is county governments are more focused on politics than infrastructure development. I am sorry to let them know this, but it's the reality. What is happening? You go to all counties. When devolution started, they had CSCs in charge of tourism. They ended up mixing agriculture and tourism, some of them. Others mix tourism and trade. Now, you know, they don't go together. So it is important for them to check. Okay. See, so they need to check on this matter because it's important for them to know. Because the CECs in charge of tourism will ensure that the counties work more on tourism. You ask hotels that are in the counties and they are supposed to be supported by the county government. For example, there is a hotel in Kakamega. It's called the Golf Hotel. What has Kakamega County done to make a county? People go to Kakamega and they go to sleep in Kisumu when there is a very big hotel in Kakamega because the county does not take care of it.
Right.
It is none of the existence for them.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Let's just pause that conversation here. We shall continue with matters hospitality and tourism in the country in a little bit, but now we want to take you to the office of the Cabinet Secretary in charge of education. Our own Bentroy Njue, right there on your screen, is ready for that conversation. Bentroy, take it away.
Thank you, back at Broadcasting House. Indeed, we are coming to you live from Jogoo House, the headquarters of the Ministry of Education. And to be specific, we are exactly in the office of the CS, Honorable Julius Migos Ogamba. And before we even engage the CS, is that the government for the last 2 years has given the lion's share of the budget to the education sector. We're talking about over 600 billion shillings a year for the education sector. But nonetheless, we also have challenges that come together with such a big venture. And that is why we are having that discussion here. And many thanks indeed for Waziri for making time for us. Waziri, thank you so much, Waziri.
Thank you, Ben.
And for making time.
You're welcome.
Yes, it's a long time. The last time you were back. Now, you've been in office for less than 1 year. What is the
did make time to come for us to have this discussion. Yes, as correctly stated that I've been in office for about 5 months. I came in office in August. And the current state of education in Kenya is not too bad. We are progressing quite well in the sector. As you are well aware, the Kenya Kwanza government has identified education as a main pillar in the development of our economy in our country. And to this extent, across the country and even globally, and an education that is relevant to our.
Well, we apologize for that technical issue there. We shall be fixing that and getting back to that interview with the Cabinet Secretary in charge of education, and he shall be talking about matters capitation and all the other issues that are affecting the education sector. But now we just want to continue with our conversation here in studio as we fix the issue there. Yes, we continue with the conversation on matters hospitality with Jackton Amutala, who is a hospitality expert. Thank you very much for staying with us, Jackton. Before we went to the education ministry there, you were telling us about counties and the work that they need to put in. Please go ahead.
Yeah, the counties needs to make sure that within their infrastructure, they set up a hospitality docket that actually looks at our hospitality industry, because they have mixed trade and hospitality, and it is actually becoming a problem for the tourism to be handled well within the counties. And then also, when they're hiring people, they should look at people who are experts in the industry to help them improve. Just the way when they go to the office, they always look for media people who can do for them PR. That would help, because sometimes when they also do appointments, they appoint people who have no knowledge about hospitality. So they end up just doing things that are more or less to do with trade. So that is where the problem is. And hospitality can thrive if everybody is focused. Yeah.
We know that a lot of these establishments in the counties outside of the main urban areas experience a boom in December because of people going up country and all that. Yeah. So how do such establishments package their offering to ensure that they can have all year round clientele?
Good. I'll give you a very good example. We have just Kiambu County, just closer here. Kiambu County has very many hotels, but they have been swallowed by Nairobi. For example, there's a very good hotel in Kiambu, just behind Juja Mall. It's called Maxland Hotel. Have you heard of it? No. You can imagine, you have not heard of it. Maxland Hotel is a very good hotel that has it has a fun park for the children that is bigger than 2 rivers. But nobody knows about it. So where is Kiambu County? Why are they not promoting it? Why are they not proud of having such a facility within Kiambu County? Where is Windsor Hotel? It's in Kiambu County. Just in Kiambu County. But they don't. Now, if I ask you, you will tell me Windsor is in Nairobi. Why? Because we are in Nairobi, all of us, so we want to book it to look Nairobi. So that is where the counties should come in and promote. Hotels like Maxland, I went to Maxland Hotel, I was in Juja Mall, and then I happened to go to Maxland Hotel, and I really loved how the hotel is. It has a fun park, it has a large swimming pool, it has all the facilities that you have. But no one knows about the hotel. So it is time that their counties have a caucus with some of the investors within the area to come up on how can they together partner to market the hotel. By marketing it, it's not only marketing the county but also the country. And also the revenues will go back to them. Because tell me, if those hotels are getting clients from Europe, the dollar would be more in Kiambu County. Who is benefiting? The government, the county government, and the investors. So it's important for them to have all the teamwork to work together. Then the other part is where the counties fail, is they are the users a lot on facilities, like they do team building, meeting, conferencing, and all that. The mistake they make is they also end up not paying them in advance. So they are going to leave them also in debt. So they need also to do budgeting in ensuring that they also use the facilities but also pay for them in advance, because they take long to pay. Some take even 2 years, and it becomes a problem for the hotel to operate.
Right.
So it's important for them to look.
Let's discuss, we shall discuss the issue of MICE tourism in just a little bit.
Yes.
Let's talk more about the issue of infrastructure development.
Yes.
You mentioned that a lot of these beautiful facilities are there waiting for clients to come in, but, you know, the roads are a problem.
Yes.
Access is a problem. So I'm informed that we shall be getting back to the answer for that question in just a little bit. Let's get back to the CS in charge of education with Ben Troinjwe on matters education in the country.
Does not lose the opportunity because of the funds, and that's why in the year 2023 the government introduced the funding model that was student-centered. This funding model was introduced basically that problem of lack of funds, and also ensure that the students who come from poor backgrounds and who need to be in universities are funded more by the government, and those who are able to afford to pay, they pay a portion of their college fees. That is the basis of the new funding model, which, as you're aware, has run into some headwinds, and I'll be explaining what we are doing to rectify that. But the government, as you correctly put it, has taken education as a key pillar, and that is why the budget of the ministry, of the budget of the whole government, 30% of it, actually almost 30% of it, comes to the government, the Ministry of Education, and that is the basis upon which everything is being done, made possible to ensure that none of our students who need to go through school from ECD.
Let's break it down further, because looking at December, the grade 9, a lot of Kenyans were had jitters in regards to, are we ready as a country to transit to grade 9? Where are we in terms of classrooms, in terms of teachers as well?
Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. It is true that all the way up to, I think, October in 2024, there were jitters as to whether the government was going to be ready to transition grade 8 students to grade 9, because there were a lot of discussions as to where were grade 9 going to be domiciled, where is junior school going to be domiciled. Through the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform that was set up in 2022, going to 2023, the recommendation by 93% of Kenyans was that we should have JSS, junior school domiciled in primary school. So that decision then made it necessary for us to do an assessment of what do we require in terms of classrooms to ensure that there is a smooth transition from grade 8 to grade 9. And the ministry undertook a countrywide assessment of the students in grade 8 and determined that would require a total of 16,000 classrooms to accommodate the grade 9 students. So the classrooms construction then started in the month of October, and as at 6th of January this year, we had already constructed 14,500 classrooms, and the intention is to complete the construction of these classrooms by mid next month, so that we would have the whole of the 16,000 classrooms. So when the transition occurred on the 6th of this month, we did have discussions with the head teachers, and we agreed that for those where construction had started and had not been completed or had not started, they would come up with methods to ensure that grade 9 is accommodated by either looking at whatever rooms that were available in the school, or ensuring that in the lower grades there is a sharing of classrooms so that we can have a classroom for grade 9, and that was done. So the transition went on smoothly, and as we speak, each and every student in grade 9 is in class. What is remaining is for us to complete the construction of the 1,500 that are ongoing, so that now the transition will be complete in terms of classrooms. In terms of teachers, the government has employed a total of 76,000 teachers in the last 1.5 years to ensure that we have enough teachers to cover the JSS teaching curriculum. And we are also doing another 20,000 this month, with a bias towards those who are in science, because we determined that we needed more teachers to do the STEM subjects. And so that 20,000 will continue reducing the ratio and ensuring that we move towards the optimum number. We have not reached the optimum number now, but we are working towards reaching that number. In terms of materials, the government has published in excess of 9.9 million books, which have already been distributed to the schools to ensure that each and every student has a book at the ratio of 1:1 in whatever subject that they are doing. What has happened in some of the schools where there has been inter-transfers, the numbers might have changed, and what we've requested the head teachers is to do an audit and then raise a pro forma, raise a request for the extra books, and those ones will also be sent to them in the next 1 month or so that each and every student has so availing the human resource. The government has done what it can to ensure that the transition is smooth. Yes, that's where we are.
We are also about 20,000 teachers. What are the terms of these teachers? A PNP, or is the internship program that has been there previously?
Thank you. When we employed the last 46,000 teachers, they were employed on contract as interns for 2 years, but we then converted them into permanent and pensionable starting this month. And so the 20,000 that are being employed, I think, are also being employed as interns. Then they would be also converted into permanent and pensionable at an appropriate time. So that process is being done, that rationalization is being done. Over and above that, the Teacher Service Commission is also undertaking an exercise of retooling the existing teachers to ensure that they are brought into appropriate training to ensure that they are in consonance with the curriculum of CBC. So that retooling is taking place, and a good number of them, I think about 80,000 of them, if I'm not wrong, I will get the correct number, have also been retooled to ensure that they are able to assist in the teaching of the JSS classrooms. So there is a number of multiple approaches that are being done to ensure that we have enough teachers sufficient to train or to teach the learners that we have in this program.
Yes. And capitation has also been mooted by a number of people, because we're always finding ourselves the capitation coming in late. What assurances can you give the country in regards to capitation? We had 19 billion, was it last week? And there were assurances after that money was disbursed, we'll be having more. What assurance can you give Kenyans?
Yes, we normally undertake capitation at the ratio of 50%, 30%, and 20% annually. 50% first term, 30% second term, and 20% third term. This year, we determined that the 50% was going to be 48 billion, which needed to be released. But because of budgetary constraints, we were able to release 19 billion initially. That money was released last week and was in the bank accounts of the schools last week. The next installment was to be of 14 billion, which was also released yesterday, and as we speak, is in the process of being disbursed into the various school accounts. That makes a total of 33 billion out of the 48 billion that we need to disburse this term. And we are, of course, working with National Treasury very closely to see that the balance of 15 billion is released. Last year, the third term, when we came in, the capitation was released 2 days before opening of the school. So depending on availability of resources, we would be releasing this capitation as soon as possible, because we are aware of the challenges that the head teachers get when the students are in school and the funds are not there. But as a government, we are doing everything possible to ensure that as we get the capitation, it is released and it's available to the schools. What we urge the head teachers and the principals is do not send away the students home, because we are working day and night to make sure that the resources are availed to you. We're aware of the challenges, and sending them home would not help, because then it creates a lot of stress to the parents, and we do not need that. What we need to do is work together to ensure that as we are doing our part, you are also trying to help us to ensure that the students remain in school. So we're urging the head teachers, please don't send the students home. We are working, and you'll be receiving the final badge for this term in the next few weeks.
And you've made that clarification, because yesterday we ran a story in our news where an MP and an MCA were requesting schools not to send away students because capitation is coming. That's a good clarification coming from you. Let's look at the university funding model. It's hit a speed bump in court. What measures have you taken as Waziri to ensure that what needs to be relooked at in the new funding model will be something that will cater for each and every student that wants to pursue higher education in the country?
Thank you. You recall that the funding model ran into headwinds not just this year, but last year. Around September last year, there was hue and cry on the funding model that it was not working. Some of the students felt that they've been put in bands that they do not belong to because of their level or their parents' level of income. And it was felt that the MTI was not producing the actual result relating to what is the actual level of income of the parents. So what we did at the point when the universities were opening on the 5th of September last year, when the students also wanted even to go on strike, we did request the universities to accept the students as we dealt with the appeals that were coming from those who felt that they were not placed in the right bands. But at the same time, the president, and we thank our president very much for the support that he's been giving us and giving the ministry, appointed a committee to relook into that model and find out whether there are areas that need to be cleaned, there are areas that need to be aligned, so that that particular model then becomes fit for purpose. So that committee has been meeting and is continuing to meet, and even as we speak, they are in meetings trying to finalize with their report where they are looking at various issues. One of the issues they were looking at is issues related to what were the appeals that the students made, what areas of concern were the appeals related to. They are also looking at what are the costs of the university programs, what makes that cost. They are unbundling the cost of those programs so that we see whether those programs are properly priced, so to speak. They are also looking at the issue of loans, the loans that are being given. What are they sufficient? Are there rules and regulations that need to be put in place so that even the repayment of those loans are assured, so that the repayment rate is higher than the non-repayment of those loans. So they are looking at various aspects of that model. And one of the things they are looking at as well is the variables that were used in the means testing instrument that enables determination of the level of income of the parents. In other words, they are trying to find out whether the variables that existed, both the financial and social variables, are they sufficient to produce a result that places the parents as close as possible to their level of income. And so we were in that process of reworking that model so that we can come up with a model that is fit for purpose, because the intention of that model is to ensure that the students who deserve to be supported by government are supported by government. The ones who are capable of paying their way, pay their way. Because the initial model was not differentiating between who is able to pay and who is not able to pay, so that it was sort of uniform. You get a figure and that is it. So there are some people who are sort of benefiting from the suffering of others. So this is what was this was what the new model was correcting. And so the variables that were used is what also is being looked at to ensure that now we have expanded those variables to ensure that the errors that we get are within the scientific margins of error. So that is what is going on. So in that process, some people went to court in 2023, and judgment was given recently, where the court, in their wisdom, found that that model is unconstitutional, and the basis of the argument from where we stand is not correct. So we have instructed our lawyers to appeal against that judgment and also to apply for stay of that decision, and that is ongoing as we speak.
Have you gotten the stay orders?
No, but we are going to. We are hoping that we are going to get it. We are waiting for a hearing date. We are waiting for a hearing date for it, so that we can then have it done.
And as we wait for court, what happens to those students who are still pursuing higher education?
That's a very good question, because that is one of the questions we are asking ourselves, because this is a model that has been in existence for 2 years, and the judgment was being given when the cohort 1 and 2 in the model were in the second term. And we were asking ourselves, how then do you have a judgment that says it's null and void without any transition period being given to deal with the students who are in class? Also, the judgment then did not proceed to tell us whether we should send the students home. So what we've done is to look at other options, including the provisions under the Public Finance Management Act, and how budgets are made, how appropriation is done. The funding model, the students that are in cohort 1 and 2, the funds that they were supposed to be released to them had already been budgeted for and appropriated. So on that basis, we think, in our own interpretation, that the funding was not stopped for the cohort that is in place. So we are proceeding to release those funds, and we've done so that the students can continue and complete the second year, so that if we do not get a stay, then we cannot apply this model for the next cohort that is coming in September. But we think it does not affect, in terms of releasing the resources, the cohort that is in place. And on that basis, we've assured the students to remain in school, and we've gotten a legal opinion from the AG to that effect, and we have started the release of their help and other scholarship funds from the university fund to their account, so that they can complete their studies.
Okay. With the school feeding program, what is the government policy on that?
Now, the school feeding program, as you're aware, is a program that targeted the ASAL areas and the children who are in the low-income areas in towns or in urban areas. And to date, we are, as a government, feeding a total of 2.6 million students, children. Although that number, from our assessment and from the assessment of the government, is still low, the target actually is to ensure that we're able to feed a total of 10 million by year 2030. But currently, we are feeding 2.6 million students in the whole country. And it's an ongoing program, and I think the food for this term is already starting being distributed. And we work with other partners in terms of logistics, in terms of collecting data, but the program is solely run by the government and is fully funded by the government. Yes.
Any critical education sectors that are funded by donors? And if yes, what would happen if at all they decide to pull out? We've seen an example in the Ministry of Health, although it has been receded. Do you have any programs that heavily rely on donors?
That are run or that have donor funded programs that relate to, for example, some infrastructure programs like what we just completed, the 16,000 classrooms. 11,000 of those classrooms were funded by the World Bank, and it was a grant. So we do not, as we speak currently, do not have a program that I can say is critical and that has been affected by the decision of the policy that has been made by the Trump administration. And if there is, then we would adjust ourselves to ensure that we are able to continue with those programs internally, because also as a government, as you are aware, we are doing a lot of rationalization. We are doing a lot of rationalization, including which of our sagas are have duplicating roles that need to be merged, which of them can be done by the ministry. So through this rationalization, we'll be making a lot of savings in income, and if there are areas that are being funded that then we need to support, we would be able to support them from our own internal sources.
How are the schools? But we had some bandits, and the government really worked together with the military and the Kenya police, really worked hard to ensure that those schools are refurbished and students are back. Are they back? Are there students? What is the status?
Yes, the students are actually back. The Ministry of Interior, together with the Ministry of Education and all government, we used an all-government approach, the Ministry of Public Works. This have come together and have ensured that those schools that were affected, some that were destroyed, are actually rebuilt back. I remember last week some were being actually opened and being launched. And as we speak, I know the ASAL Ministry and the Ministry of Interior are already in that space ensuring that even the food is being distributed to those schools and those students so that they are fully back in school. So the insecurity has been contained in those schools where there are fears. They have been beefed up, and all our students are in school. Even during exams last year, where there were a bit of challenges, we were able to move students to safer areas, and all of them did the exams. So none of our students have been affected by the insecurity. It's already been contained.
In regards to improving infrastructure, and especially in the arid and semi-arid areas, because we have seen some classes that are really wanting in some of the regions I'm talking about, and especially in the bandit-prone areas.
The ministry is concerned that we have certain areas in the country that has classes that are not of the standard that is required even in other areas. So what we intend to do and what we are planning to do is undertake an audit of all those schools and find out what is the infrastructural requirement for us to ensure that we have classes that are fit for purpose in those areas. Number two, we are working very, very closely with the members of parliament through the National Government Constituency Development Fund to build this infrastructure. In fact, out of the 16,000 classrooms, the ministry is doing 11,000, and the other 4,000, actually a total of about 6,000, would be done by the national government CDF through the members of parliament. So working with them, we are able to identify the needs of those schools, and we are able to ensure that classrooms are now being done, or that infrastructure is being done in those schools. And whatever support that they need, we are able to rationalize, we are able to align, so that we ensure that each particular school has sufficient classrooms, sufficient infrastructure to ensure that our students are well taken care of. So we work with each and every member of society and other donors where we get the support, and they do the construction, so that we are able to ensure that all our schools are well catered for. But we are doing an audit to just ensure that we are not leaving any part of the country out, so that we have a standard. That's why we talked about equality, so that we have an equal set of classrooms. We are standardizing them. We are doing a lot, even in terms of ensuring that even where we do not have internet and we are producing digitization or coming up with digitization. We are coming up with issues relating to using the Starlink, maybe in those areas. We are working with Kenya Power to do the internet using the last mile, just to ensure that we are as close as possible. We bring all our students in the country as close as possible to each other in terms of equity and quality and accessibility.
Talking of digitization, where are we especially? Your ministry for the last 1 or 2 years has been very ardent to ensure that our TVET institutions are really up to par, and especially when it comes to digitization.
We have a robust program that we are undertaking the TVET institutions, and each particular TVET institution has a Gitume lab to ensure that our students have enough computers to undertake not just their studies but also to work, because some are doing online jobs and they're actually being able to even pay their school fees and pay their upkeep from these programs. We're also doing IABs in all the wards in the country. It's a government program to ensure that each ward has an IAB, and this we are working in conjunction with the members of parliament through the National Government Constituency Development Fund, just to ensure that there's no area, there's no part of our country that is left behind in terms of technology, because this is where we are moving towards. So there are robust programs that are ongoing, and they are producing results. A lot of our students are already engaged in these activities, and they're making good money. They're actually self-employed, and the TVETs are leading in this program. And in fact, most of our students, including the trainers, not just the students, including the trainers, when they are not in class, you would find them on their computers and doing online jobs. It's an area that is a very, very progressive and very productive.
Talking of jobs, and especially for what programs are there, or what plans have the ministry has to ensure that they are assimilated somewhere? We have seen and we've heard about jobs abroad, jobs in Europe, and especially for technical courses like plumbing, masonry. What plans are there to ensure that at least these people are also assisted in the job market? Because the TVETs have become so robust now.
The TVETs have become so robust, and what really is happening is that the graduates from our TVET institutions either get jobs when they come out, or they become employers themselves because of the training that they have. And we are working very closely with a lot of the other countries, and we have signed bilateral agreements of job mobility from this country to their countries, including where we are aligning our curriculum to specific requirements in those countries where they are going to get these jobs. And so the programs that we have, including the CBET that we've rolled out, is demand-driven. Our programs are designed to be demand-driven. That means we are working will tell us what is it that you require our trainees skills, what skills do you require our trainees to have, so that when they come into the market, they are job ready, you do not need to retrain them. So in working with them, and we come up with a policy, a dual training policy, where our trainees train in college 50% of the time, and 50% they train in industry, so that by the time they are coming out, they are already hands-on in the field that they are training. And so it is a robust area, and we are rolling out programs and extending our programs to various sectors and various fairs that have not been rolled out before, so that we have people who are trained. For example, if you want a farmhand, that farmhand would be trained by one of our TVETs, and by the time we are employing him, he knows what he's supposed to do in various areas. So the training has been extended, and we are doing very well with the other countries where we are working with them.
And still to ensure that we recognize Masons who've been there for years and they have never been to any technical or vocational training institute. Is that program still on?
That program is on. That program is on, and it's called recognition of prior learning. We came up with a policy in 2023 It was rolled out in 2023, and it's now recognized that if you have been in informal employment and you are trained and you have a certain skill, you can come through a TVET, and then we recognize that training by giving you a certificate on the basis of the policy of recognition of prior learning, which then enables you progress to the next stages that you wish to train in. So that's a policy that is already there because it was an area of informality where we would not even know how many people we have in those areas. But now we do, and we're inviting them. In fact, we have graduated quite a number of them and given them certificates, and they are doing very, very well. And it's actually enabling people come into the formal sector in terms of the economy and the working environment.
Yes. Previously, where we have disasters like flooding interrupt not only examination but also learning, what plans are there to ensure that we circumvent these challenges?
What we came up with, as you're aware, we did our KCSE last year, and we had about 965,000 students undertake this exercise, these tests, these exams. 246,000 of them qualified with a C+ to progress to university. And so we came up with a policy to allow those who have not made it to undertake a mid-year exam in July so that they are able to improve their grades if they want to move to tertiary institutions. This is because, as you correctly say, sometimes a disaster happens, not just floods. It could be a student was sick. It could be there was a death in the family. It could be there was a girl in maternity hospital, or whatever, for whatever reason, that this child or this learner has not done that well, not because that is their level, but because of that disaster that happened within that period of the exam. So when you determine that they've gotten a certain grade, and we determine that that is their level, and yet that is a level that came about because of that disaster that happened within that period, we think it was unfair. So we thought, let us have a July exam to sort of improve their grades so that they can join their colleagues in September when they are going to school without them losing a year. Because then what happens when you do the normal repeat exam that you're going to do in November, then you've lost 1 year because you'd have to come to the university or to the tertiary institution the following year. So to avoid a situation where a student is losing that 1 year, we introduce a July exam to enable them to the results come out in August, and in September they're able to go to school without losing, because their level was not determined by what the grades they normally get, is because of a disaster that happened. So that's why we came up with that, to mitigate, as an intervention, to mitigate that loss and ensure that we are not leaving any of our children behind.
And it's during my time, if you had to repeat an exam, you had to repeat all the subjects, and you had to wait for an year. How did you come up with this program?
We had a sitting with the team from the Kenya National Examination Council, and as usual, when you're in this position, you have to keep thinking, and your thinking must always be, what is the best interest of the learner? What can we do to make it better for them? So you have to keep thinking about, how do you work in this space to ensure that the policies, the programs that you have, are actually benefiting the people for whom we are working. So as we were having that discussion, we said, look, I think it doesn't help to put these children back and, sometimes move them even to Form 3, and yet maybe they've only failed in 1 or 2 subjects. It's something that we can do, because in this day and age, it is not what you can remember or knowledge you've acquired. It is what can you do with the knowledge that you've acquired. How do you apply that knowledge to solve the day-to-day problems of society? And so in doing that, because information is available, we thought it's only fair that we can have this exam in July, and they need just to do the subjects that they failed in order to push their grades up. Then they can move to the next stage. So that is the reason why we came up with that policy. And it is in the interest of the students, in the interest of the parents, so that you do not have the children lagging behind. When you have a program, for example, that medicine program in Moi University that is supposed to take 6 years. When it takes 9 years and somebody is in school for 9 years, both the child and the student and the parent become very stressed. So these are some of the things that as we sit here, we keep thinking, what is the best way to solve that challenge? The challenges are going to be there, but what is important is what is the government doing to ensure that that challenge, that intervention is done. So the interventions we are coming up with are interventions that are supposed to benefit the learners, to benefit the children, to benefit the Kenyans.
At least now, their examination. Question is, what about issues like flooding? We've seen in the last rains where we had schools submerged for months or even weeks. Are we bettering infrastructure to ensure that the recurrence of flooding, perennial flooding and insecurity as well are sorted out once and for all?
Yes, it's true. Those areas that the flooding has taken place, the insecurity, what we are doing is to look at the frequency of those areas that flood, so that we do not continue, for example, rebuilding the school in the same place where there was flooding. We probably need to move that school to a higher ground, because in 2 or 3 years or 5 years there's going to be another flood. So working together with the other ministries, with the other Public Works, the Ministry of Interior, ICT, we use the county governments. We just have to have that whole government approach to solve the problems in the best way possible for the benefit of each and everyone. Yeah.
And in regards to a comparison between the previous education system that we had and CBC, CBC is a little bit expensive. What can you tell those parents who have this view?
The CBC may look expensive now because we are in that process of transition. In the long term, and because of the benefits that it will bring, because we are producing now students who are all round. They are utilizing their competencies, they are utilizing their skills, they are using their memory to exam what they can remember and things like that. It's a 360 person that we are producing. At the end of the day, the returns would overshadow or would override the cost. And the cost at the moment is because of perhaps a misunderstanding of how it should be done. For instance, the parents that have talked to me, sometimes they say, the teachers have said, each child maybe they're learning about, let's say, chicken. And the teacher said, bring each child to come with a chicken. So that's not how it's supposed to be applied. So these are things that are being cleaned up to ensure that cost is within control. So in the long run, it is not more costly than what we used to have. And the government has come in as much as possible to reduce that cost. For example, the provision of books that is done 100% by the government is a reduction of the cost that could have come from the parents, but now it's not coming from them. So at the end of the day, working together to ensure that we align the program and we remove whatever areas where there are cobwebs, whatever areas that are incompetencies, we'll be able to resolve those.
Yes. Private schools to ensure that not only do they give quality education that it should be there, but they also do not exploit parents.
The school policy in this country is one. The regulator is one. Just the same way that we are dealing with the public schools is the same way that we deal with the private schools. But remember, the private schools, the parents choose to take their students or their learners to the private schools, and it's like a contract that they sign. So they are free to ensure that where they feel something that's within the agreement that they had is not the correct position, they'll deal with it in the normal way of the relationship between the parents and the schools. But in terms of quality, in terms of the provision, in terms of the rules and regulations, in terms of the infrastructure in those schools, including the safety requirements, those are regulations and policies that we implement as a ministry. And where we find that they have been flouted, we deal with them. That's why, for example, we closed 348 schools that did not meet the requirements of boarding schools. Those included both private and public schools. And when they met the requirements, we were able to open for them, and they have continued. So the standards are the same.
It's a good thing, Waziri, we brought that question as to what happened in Hillside. Last year, I remember ensuring that schools observe the up to. Where are we with that?
That task force went through the schools. We did an inspection, and that's why they came up with the 348 that were not meeting the standards. And they were told, you, this particular school, your mistake is 1, 2, 3. And they were able to correct that. And our inspectors went back where the correction was done. The schools were opened. Where the correction was not done, the schools remained closed, and they were converted into day schools. So we are very clear in our mandate that the safety of the learners are paramount and they are non-negotiable. So where we have provided the safety policies, and each and every school is aware of them, they need to be applied. Where they are not applied, we will apply the sanctions. And so that is what happened because of that unfortunate event in Darasha, which was a very painful thing to the country. Yeah.
Ensure there is transparency in the allocation of funds so that we may ensure that bursaries are not misused.
The process of ensuring that bursaries and any allocations that the government makes is transparent is through the audits. We do audits every year to ensure that each particular resource that was given to whatever school, whatever institution, whatever person was applied for the purpose that it was meant. So that is an exercise that is done. And of course, there are rules and regulations and guidelines on who should get a bursary, what level of income their parents should be in, and things like that. Where we audit and we find there was misalignment, then action is taken. Some of the action that is taken is administrative, so that's why the public may not be aware of it, but action is taken to ensure that as we move forward, year to year, we are improving that system. So there is an audit that takes place in each and every institution for the resources that are given to them.
We actually age and we are digitizing everything, including matters learning. How is the ministry preparing for the digital transition, and especially on e-learning and e-tools?
Currently, we have the NEMIS system that we use as a ministry, and this system is being improved and expanded to what we are calling KEMIS. We are increasing it to make it a bit larger, Kenya Education Information Management System. And in it, we are going to have those we're going to have portals relating to these aspects, including of procurement, of accounting, the number of students we have, the capitation, so that when you are somewhere, you can be able to view, you have sight of everything that is happening in our institution. So we are very, very clear about the digitization. We are also clear about ensuring that even collections, even payments, even our institutions are moved into the e-citizen platforms so that everybody is aware that we are not hiding anything. Resources can be seen, numbers can be seen, disbursements can be seen. You know, we have a system where dashboard where when you get in, you're able to see what's happening everywhere. And this is a process that is being undertaken all the way to the universities.
Was released, you released that examination. There have been complaints in regards to some people who feel aggrieved, there's some people who didn't get the results. How are you dealing with these complaints, and what is the turnaround time for all the cases?
Every year, when exams are released, there are complaints. But this year, the complaints were not that many. And there is, under the Kenya National Examination Council Act, if you have a complaint, you have 30 days from the date of release of the exam to raise your complaint, and the Kenya National Examination Council team will look at that complaint, assess it, and if it is found to have merit, it will be corrected and you'll be informed of the outcome. So there is a window of 30 days within which you can raise whatever complaint that you have so that it can be looked at. If you feel, for example, that you didn't get the grade that you got, that you should have gotten, then the team would pick your script, and another different team would look at it to determine whether that grade you got was a correct grade. So there is a room for you to raise a complaint, and then it is attended to. Yes.
And we are talking about for the in the KCPE, only the KCSE, 7,200. Some people feel it's a bit on the higher side.
That's an assessment that was done because we were not able to determine how many subjects, for example, you are going to undertake.
7,200 covers any paper that you want.
Yes, exactly. So really, it's not really too much. It's and you see, we've been able to sort you out in terms of you being able to undertake this within the year, so that you don't have to stay out for a whole year. So the cost-benefit analysis in terms of what you're going to gain vis-a-vis if you are to stay out for a year, or if you are to go back from 3 and start the whole process again, it's not too much, I would say. Yeah, thank you.
Waziri, you've been in office for less than 1 year. What are some of the challenges as well? Because the ministry itself has challenges. What challenges have you been facing in the last couple of years?
Immediately I was appointed, we faced the challenges of strikes. I think we started with the NAT team that felt that their CBA was not being honored, and the funds that they were supposed to have gotten in July, they had not received them. So they wanted to go on strike. And remember, this was third term because we were appointed in August. So third term, then you'd have had an effect affecting all the students that are going to school, some of whom are going to do exams. So that was the first job I had to navigate, and I thank the NAT team, because when we sat down and we were able to analyze what we need to do, we were able to reach a compromise, and the strike was averted. The next one then was Kupet, almost immediately. And their concern was also the 46,000 teachers who needed to be made permanent and pensionable, among other complaints. And we were able also to negotiate with them, and we agreed that we'll ensure that these teachers are placed in permanent and pensionable in January 2025, which has been done. So I also thank them for that kind of thing. Then the next one was WASU and KUSU and KUDEA for the universities. They were coming in very fast, one after another. And we also were able to negotiate with WASU and KUSU and KUDEA on the issues that they raised. But I determined, or we were able to determine, that one of the issues that face the unions is the issue relating to the negotiation of their CBAs that seem to happen at the end of the cycle instead of at the beginning of the cycle. So as a team, we've agreed that negotiation of CBAs should be done at the beginning of the cycle, because that makes it easier to plan. It makes it easier for government to plan their resources. It makes it easier for the unions to know what is happening, what amounts that they'll be getting when. So that, I think, is an activity that is already starting to ensure that we start at the beginning to avert future strikes, so that we can keep all our teachers and all our lecturers in class. Then came the Moi University, which was a very big one, and they were out for a long time. It took us a long time to negotiate a return to work formula, and we managed to do it, because that's where some of the students had been out for. They've been in school for 9 years. I went there, I saw them, and it was very depressing. So we agreed that we need to do something about it, and we did. So they are back in school, and the programs are running. And the good news is that they were able to come up with strategies to ensure that they cover their hours, and hopefully they are going to graduate in March. Some of them being graduated in December, I think it was December 2019. The next group will graduate in this coming March next year. So that was next year. Exams, because normally the exam is a big one, but we were able to navigate that. The matrices were not that many, and the results have come out. Of course, there are many other challenges that we have to deal with every day there's one issue after another. There was the issue in Darasha, which was also a very bad issue that led us to deal with the issues of fires. There have been fires that students burning down their dormitories because of their disagreements with their administration. So we've urged the teachers, the head teachers through the associations to engage the students in consultations where there are issues that they have town halls in school, discuss them to avoid a situation where students feel they're not being listened to, so that they can resolve the issues without ending up destroying the property, because this ends up costing the parents, because as a ministry, if you burn a school down or you burn a dormitory, it's your parents who are going to be able to be required to rebuild that dormitory. So there have been a number of challenges that we have to deal with on a daily basis. The issues relating to resources, the resources are not sufficient. How do you balance, between what the schools want, what the universities want, vis-a-vis the resources that we have. The new funding model is a big one and is still ongoing, where we have to deal with the issues that the students have raised and the parents have raised vis-a-vis keeping them in school and ensuring that has resources to ensure that the schools are ongoing. So these are the balancing acts that we've been able to deal with as we have joined the government these last few months. The issues of ensuring that we have sufficient classrooms for grade 9 when the construction only started in October. So we had October, November, and December. We just had three months to ensure that by January we have classrooms for the students to go in. So it hasn't been a bed of roses. It has required to be sufficiently supported. But we've had a lot of support. We've had a lot of support from His Excellency the President, from the Head of Public Service. We've had a lot of my cabinet colleagues, a lot of support from the members of parliament, and they have been very, very encouraging. The ministry has a very good team, a very dedicated team, very professional. In fact, when we were going to do the exams, I had a virtual meeting with all our field officers, and I requested them that none of them should go for holiday, for Christmas or for leave. So we were able to work through, all of us going to the fields. If you notice, we've been going to the fields. Each one of us is somewhere doing something just to ensure that the classrooms are being done, the transition is taking place, the exam is being done, there's no malpractice, and we've worked very well. Ministry of Interior has been very, very supportive. The national government, the team that we call the machine, the Ngao, they have worked with us very, very closely and supported us. So we've seen that support, which has enabled us achieve milestones that otherwise would not have achieved on our own. So that support, the whole of government approach, the support we've had from Treasury. When we go there, we tell them, as we have children, sort us first. So they help us through this, and that's why I'm telling the head teachers we are doing everything possible to ensure that the resources are there. We give them the support that they require. We are talking to their unions. We are talking to their associations. Our doors are open. Consultation takes place every day. So it is all hands on deck to ensure that our education sector is not, in shambles, as some people were trying to say, so that we bring it back to where it is supposed to be. We have tried as much as possible to ensure that we bring hygiene into this particular sector, so that when everybody knows, none of us here has a certificate from elsewhere. We all went through this system. So when we kill it, we are killing ourselves. So we are ensuring that we bring our education sector, our education standards to where it is supposed to be. And it's for everybody. It's not just the ministry. It's not just the government. It's not just the county government. You've seen issues relating to the bursary that the county government is raising, legitimate issues relating to the children that they are supporting, because they do support children using those bursaries. So these are things that we need to negotiate and agree, how do we do it? If it is in the law, how do we manage that law to ensure that the children do not suffer? Because the first thing that you have to do is make sure that whatever decision you are making, whether you are a government official, whether you guys in the media, are you making this for the benefit of the learners, or are you making it for your own benefit? So sometimes even the information that has to come out there, when it's not correct, then it becomes, it affects not just the government, affects everybody. Issues of using social media, it is our children. So when you misuse that, and that's where, for example, the Minister of ICT came in very strongly to support us during the exams, because we were able to deal with issues relating to phones, messages in phones, that kind of thing. When all of us put our heads together, put our hands together, then we were able to achieve. So I'm very grateful for the support I have gotten. The challenges have been there, but that support has enabled me handle those challenges. The team has been very, very supportive. I've got very good PSS who are very, very knowledgeable, and they've helped me through the process so that the induction, although it was hot, it wasn't that bad. We were able to come through. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and as we come to the view, Waziri, I'm looking as also about social support and countenance, because we have seen some issues that are, everybody is in one way or another dealing with a form of illness, and if it's not you, maybe or a child. How are we in our education system, and especially now education is one of the major problems that is affecting young people?
We have it in our programs, in our schools, in our institutions. There is a psychosocial support officer or teacher who is responsible for it, so that they identify those cases early and they're able to talk to the students and talk to the children, because sometimes it is not something that is happening in school. It could be something that is happening at home. So they are able to identify that and start handling it. It is there, and where they need to escalate it, we are able to give them the support they need vis-a-vis the other, county government teams, the medical teams from there. They were very supportive. Like in Darasha, the psycho support system was from the Nyeri County. The team was there to assist the parents, and together with the team from headquarters, and we were able to take, that disaster was able to be managed in that sense. So it is there in our programs. It is something that we are alive to, and it's something that we are not, it's front in our system, so we are dealing with that as well. Yeah.
Your final closing statement.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I just want to say that as a country, education is a pillar and it is fundamental, and I would request that each and everyone who has a role to play, including all the stakeholders in the education sector, be it the unions, be it the teachers, be it the students, be it the government, that we first and foremost look at the effect of the decisions that we make, so that whatever decision we make, whatever demands that we make, must be demands that are in support of the best interest of the learner, so that we have an education system that is across the world, because as you are aware, we are now able to send a lot of our people to work outside our own country. If we then have situations where we are demeaning our own education system, it affects even our rating outside this country. So I would urge that whatever decisions we do, whatever challenges that we have, we are able to deal with them in a sober manner to ensure that we do not affect our sector. And I want to thank each and every Kenyan for being patient with us through these challenges and for helping us. Some of you have given us a lot of ideas. You've sent us messages of support. You've sent us messages of solutions. You've sent us ideas on what we need to do to resolve certain things. And we welcome this. And soon we'll be going around the country in the 47 counties to sensitize our people in what we are doing in the education sector, sensitize people in what is CBC, what's the funding model, why are we doing the things that we are doing, and we need your support. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're hoping for another engagement soon.
Hopefully.
That has been the ministry that is given the biggest budget. We're talking about education, about the transition, telling us all about the education, the tertiary education.
Well, that is my colleague Ben Troy Njue there, who has been having a conversation with the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Education, Julius Ogamba, and they have talked about quite a number of issues, including the issues of capitation, school infrastructure, saying that the government is working round the clock to ensure that extra classrooms are constructed. There are those that have already been constructed and in use currently. He also talked about the return of teachers. That is ongoing currently. Well, that has been the conversation on matters education, and he says that Kenya's education system needs to be celebrated in order to make the Kenyan populace marketable both internally and in the international market. Well, that is the end of that conversation. We now come back to studio and continue with our conversation on matters hospitality outlook for 2025 with Jackton Amutala, who is a hospitality expert. Thank you very much, Jackton, for staying with us.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Let us talk about the issue of infrastructure development. To ensure that these hospitality establishments are accessible. You might reach somewhere and you find that maybe a road is not available, and those questions on infrastructure, Jackton will just be answering them to us in a little bit. I'm informed that we need to take a quick break. When we come back, we continue with this conversation. Stay with us.
To give you an apology.
Apologize, of course you should. We've married for years and you never apologized. Make it formal.
Look at your hand. It doesn't look like a working hand. How pale and soft it is.
Yes.
What moisturizer do you use?
Single once again. Don't I have to celebrate, huh?
I want you to feel I'm different from usual.
Nimekuja kumwona mpenzi wangu.
Oh, kumbe una mpenzi wako hapa na hujawahi kuniambia?
Wa miaka mingi sana. Hata babake mwenyewe pia yajua. Mimi kiongozi sitaki kuongea na mtu mwingine. Nataka kuongea na wewe. Mpenzi wangu hapa ni Karembo.
Najua wataka nini?
Mimi nataka tu ukweli.
Ukweli upi? Wewe unachotaka ni kuhamisha lawama.
Haraka mwanangu haina baraka.
Najizi pia nyumba ya njaa.
Kwa hiyo
nitafika salama, fungua mlango.
Thank you very much for staying with BizCheck. My name is Betty Kiptum and Lucy Maura is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. We continue with our conversation on matters hospitality with Jackton Amutala, who is an hospitality expert. Thank you for staying with us, Jackton.
Thank you.
Please take us through the position of the state of infrastructure to tourism products in this country.
Infrastructure for tourism, I must say, has improved. Mm-hmm. And as much as we have more to do, but it has improved. Why do I say so? You will see like it was a very difficult way to access the Diani beach of Mombasa because of the ferry taking long hours. It was a problem, and the South Coast was suffering because of this. But now with the new road, Dongo Kundu, it has made it a bit easier, and most people are now booking. There are hotels in Mombasa like the Leisure Lodge, which have a very huge capacity of mice, and they are suffering because it was built for people to travel to Mombasa to do conferencing, but they couldn't get. But of late, business has started thriving, and they are getting business, so it is improving. Another one to mention is while you're going to Masai Mara. When you go to Masai Mara, before you could take 10 hours to reach any lodge inside the park. But of late, it has improved, and there's a lot of good things to do with Masai Mara, because it is tarmac now up to the gate. Now, because inside the park, we want to maintain the culture,
Right.
we could do the roads inside. And they have also done good roads that nowadays you don't find that tourists are getting stuck in there. So that is the part of the Mara and the South Coast part of it. You've seen Malindi has done. This festive season, if you went to Mombasa, the stretch between Mombasa town to Shanzu, between the Pride Inn hotels and the White Sands, Bamburi Beach, they really suffered because of the road. But at least in the long run, it is going to be good because the road is being done well. So that I must say it is improving. And when you go to Mount Kenya, the roads have been done. At least that is a better thing. The only thing now remaining is that KBC, which is a department within the tourism ministry, had funds to give hotels to improve in terms of refurbishment. They take loan, which was a better one, to refurbish hotels so that they come to that standard. The bit of hotels upping their game by making sure that they do good renovations to make them to meet the international standard and the new norms in the industry. Because you see, there are sensors. Like, for example, you go to washrooms, you just bring your water and the water comes out, so that you avoid touching, because we are moving from COVID, where COVID taught us, and that's why I started it by saying COVID also taught us a lesson. So those are the things we want to see, and they are international, so that clients come to Europe. They don't tell us to be third world all the time. We can do something. Yes.
Kenya has packaged itself as a MICE destination.
Yes.
For meetings, incentives, conferences,
Yes.
and what's the E?
Events. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How are we doing in terms of attracting high-end events?
Wow. I would say hospitality players have done best, but not Kenya as a country.
Okay.
Rwanda is just a small country. They have a very good MICE destination because they have a big convention bureau that people would go there so that they can pitch the events within there and do trade shows can be done. Where are we in Kenya? We must improve. We have KICC, which should be doing this, but we have left it to be a sleeping giant. It's not being utilized to the right, because the size does not meet the international standard. It has the largest hall. The ballroom can take up to 3,000 people. People are talking about 20,000 people. So where are we? We have Bomas of Kenya, which is a very good field. They can do a good thing. So the government must invest in MICE more by bringing a convention bureau. This is what will happen, will help Kenya into the MICE. The hotels themselves are doing MICE. Why are we saying Kenya is doing better in MICE? Because we are looking how local tourism, we are going to conferencing, we are doing events and all that. But are we getting the big international events to come to Kenya? Yes, we are getting them, but the smaller ones. The bigger ones cannot come because we don't have the facility to do it. So the government must do this to make sure that we get enough facilities to do. And they don't need to use, government is stretched with funds because we can hear it from the news. Why can't they call the stakeholders and have a discussion and see how best can they work with the stakeholders to make sure that the convention bureau is built? And that's where we need to go. So I agree, yes, we're doing well, but not to that standard that we are. We have been the leading country in Africa in terms of tourism, but we're coming down because South Africa, why do people go to South Africa? They have a big MICE press. South African tourism is 9 million a year. Kenya, we are saying we had 2.5. But the South Africa, yes. So 1.9 was 2023. 2024, we say it's 2.5. The question is, when we are comparing ourselves to South Africa and we want to be a brand, and they are at 9 and we are at 2, where are we ourselves? We need to benchmark to the best. Let's not benchmark down, we benchmark upwards. So let's benchmark upwards. And how is South Africa improving? They are trying to market themselves by having good. It's not all South Africa that is good. You go to Cape Town, sometimes they don't even have power. But do they talk? They say they don't talk about it. They only talk about the good things they have. Visit this place, see where Nelson Mandela was prisoned, go where a place. We also have where our president, Jomo Kenyatta, was prisoned. Why are we not talking about it? And if we talk about it, how are we to? So the communication infrastructure within tourism ministry, within the government in terms of MICE must improve. We always go to trade shows outside the country because each hotel will always go to market and pitch for the clients from Europe and all that. And when you go to those places, you go to, like you go to London, there's a place called Excel Center. It is huge. It is like almost from Kangemi to Mulolongo, you are in one hall. That is what we want. So Kenya, we can go there. We don't need to do like them, but at least something that they can compare, they have something. When you are on the road, in a Vitz and in a Prado, all of you are in cars. So can we have also our Vitz, first of all, in terms of MICE, before we reach where we want to go? Yeah.
There's when you were speaking, I'm thinking about an example of JITEX. JITEX is a global tech exhibition.
Yes.
It's the biggest in the world.
Yes.
The African edition last year, it was announced that the Nigerian edition will start this year.
Yes.
And what baffled me was that lobbying was being done by the Nigerian government for a decade for that to happen.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if our government is, taking up such initiatives in terms of lobbying. And even as we lobby for such events, it will require very high capacity in terms of bed space. Is the hospitality industry, the private sector, ready to provide this bed space?
Wow, a good question. I must say, and I must commend the current CS for tourism. She has come up, she's talking to the stakeholders to know exactly what we need to do. And together with the PS, John Olotua, they are really, you can see it's a team that is gelling, and the industry players feel like, yes, there's somebody who's now who can be able to listen to them. The biggest problem we have is lobbying. We need to lobby in a way that we are lobbying to make sure that we are a destination, not just to see that we have also won to be there. That's number one. So the lobbying part should be done led by the government through the Ministry of Tourism. Then the stakeholders within it will actually also upgrade themselves. I want to use an example. When I happen to have been in Uganda when the Queen was going there in 2007. And they had done the CHOGM when the all Commonwealth heads of states were going to Uganda for the summit, which was the first in Africa at that time. And the Uganda government told industry players that there's a big business coming in, build hotels. People built hotels in Uganda, almost everywhere. Do you know what happened? Some of them died because of heart attack, because they built hotels and nobody came to occupy them. Why? There was no marketing done for those hotels. So people booked to go to Uganda, but some were staying in Kenya and flying to Uganda because they didn't know they are hotels. They are building hotels. They are not online and everything. Digitalization has made things very easy. So we need, as a country, if we want to lobby for these things, let's first of all show the stakeholders in the industry that there is hope. Build the bureau. Then from there, the players will be able to know that, A, there is business. When these people come, they have no place to stay. Nairobi has approximately around 256 hotels within Nairobi. That is an example. Hotels known as hotels. We are not talking about motels, it's hotels. Yes. But now the question is, they are not enough. The other day we had the Sevens rugby team when they were all coming here and they patronized hotels in Nairobi. They had to stay almost to the other side of Nairobi because there were not enough hotels, because the rugby teams had came, yes, but there were also other guests who had already booked hotels to stay. And the rule is they cannot stay, two players cannot stay in one hotel, another, they have to stay together. By the time they come, maybe the availability is not there, so they will have to pass that hotel because they don't have all the teams staying. Right. So this is something we need to do as a country, and through the Ministry of Tourism, they need to start lobbying for such things. A good example you have mentioned about lobbying, that one. We have African Cup of Nations that is supposed to come to Kenya. From your look, what have we done to prepare for it? We are focused on how the stadiums are being done. But are the players going to stay in the stadiums?
Definitely
They
not.
need to stay in the hotels.
Yeah.
What are we doing to the hotels within Nairobi? Because it's going to be happening in Nairobi, Kisumu. What have we done about it? We can see the new stadium, the former city stadium, being done very well. What have we done with the hotels within those sites and closer? What are we doing? That is where we need to go. And that's where I pose a question to the Minister of Tourism to sit down and bring stakeholders within the hospitality industry to discuss and see that as we do stadiums, as we prepare for them, what are you people able to do to make sure that when these people come here, they live with memories. First of all, they will visit sites and everything, and they must be staying somewhere for them to visit. There are teams that will be knocked out earlier. After being knocked out earlier, they might need to go for game drive, they need to go everywhere. They need hotels to stay, they need travel agents, they need tour operators to take them around the country to see the countryside. This can only be done when these stakeholders are put in place and they share their opinions for us to be improved. Yeah.
Of course, we know that the hotel industry, as it were, is facing some competition.
Yes.
And the Airbnbs and the likes are the ones that are eating into the customer base. How is the industry aligning and realigning itself to manage this competitive competition that has come its way?
I'll be honest. When the Airbnbs came, they looked like really competition. But I might be wrong. But from my point, they have faded because most people who travel, they are tired for business, they want service. Airbnbs is you get a room and you serve yourself.
Right.
So that is where the problem is. So the hospitality industry is different. Hotels are different because they offer service. Airbnbs, they offer self-service. So you serve yourself. So the people who go there, they choose to serve. Imagine you have come to Kenya, you have been in a conference room the whole day, you've gone back to the room, and now you have to cook for yourself. Here in the hotels, they will cook for you, they will serve you, you will feel relaxed. You will get someone who makes the bed for you and everything. Airbnbs, they come on your checkout day to do your room because they want another guest to come in. So it is more of a self-service. It's another, I would say it's another branch of hospitality.
Okay.
But it is not a really competitor.
I think I have seen Airbnbs where they have employed chefs and cleaners as well. So you just go there to relax. It's like a hotel, but you can book an entire 3-bedroom with your family. So are you saying that is really not competition for you?
They have hired a chef.
Right.
What does the chef do? He only cooks for you. The best he can do, he can go extra mile and brings it on your table.
Right.
Will he go and serve you drinks? He won't. There is a limitation of what they can do. I don't rule them out that they can do, but there's limitation on how far they can go. Because if they continue going further, and that's why I said classification, if they continue going further, then they need to be classified to be hotels.
Right.
And then they need to go through TRA. Do they meet the qualification of what TRA really requires for them to be a hotel? That is another thing. And that's why, because of taking this notion, Kenyans are taking even Airbnbs now to become hotels. And it's bringing about the notion that everybody starts thinking everything's good. They are very good. They are actually comfortable. They take a lot. When you have a family and you want to sit together, they take you very well because the whole family, you can go there and even have a meeting that you have never met with all the parents and everything. That is good for you. And still you are doing for yourself service. It's as good as being at home. So it's a home away from home place. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So what does the future look for? What does the future look like for the hospitality industry, and what does the industry need to do to make itself more competitive?
The future of the hospitality industry is looking very bright, and I would say that with reasons. You've seen how many new hotels have opened in Kenya. The new branches and even international that have started coming back. When they start opening, that shows you there is future. If there is not future, they would be closing down. So the future is good. The only thing is our marketing should go further to make it be more. If countries that are closer to us are doing well, like, I will ask you a question. Do you know Uganda is number 2? The Ugandans are number 2 in visiting Kenya. USA is number 1 and Uganda is number 2.
Right.
Why would Ugandans come to Kenya? They are not coming to stay in the rooms. They have also their houses at home. They have Airbnbs. And they come to Kenya for business, and they come to stay in the hotels and visit places. So this tells you we are a hub, but we must go out. And that's why I asked the CS to continue with the team to make sure that they bring the stakeholders, let them bring them from different regions, discuss different things that can fit different regions, then come up now together with one umbrella that can now run all these things together. And that would be very good.
Right.
Yeah.
Aggressive marketing needs to be done.
Yes, aggressive marketing needs to be done, and really aggressive, not just going slow. There is someone who used to tell me in meetings when we had in boardroom, he used to say, we must go a Ferrari way and not tortoise way. So I always use that.
Right, let's go the Ferrari way. Your message to Kenyans who are yet to take advantage of all the offerings that Kenya has to offer?
The message to Kenyans is Tembea Kenya. Please know your country, explore. There are very many places. So I mentioned when we are starting, you go to Thika Road, there are new hotels that are here that people know Thika Road, you mentioned Thika Road, it's Utalii Hotel and Safari Park. But you go to Thika Road, you'll be in shock. There are very many good hotels there, all towards. You go to other countries, go to Nakuru. Nakuru has opened very good hotels. I was in Eldoret and I was shocked. The hotels that have opened on the airport road, there are very many hotels. So Tembea Kenya and you will see the places. We mentioned when we were discussing about Baringo, there are very many good hotels in Baringo, but because we discuss more of bandits about Baringo than hotels, Kenyans don't know about them. So what we need to do, the county government of Baringo, I urge them, let them go out and also do what we call experiential marketing. Let them take people in the hotel, show people how the hotels in Baringo look like, people checking in, then people will not fear to go to Baringo. That is what you need to do.
Right, Tembea Kenya. Thank you very much, Jackton, for your thoughts on matters hospitality. That is Jackton Amutala. He is a hospitality expert with about 3 decades of experience marketing Kenya across the world. And this has been a conversation on hospitality and what the industry is supposed to do to ensure that it remains competitive, especially during this year. This is it for BizCheck. My name is Betty Kiptum. Kasichana Masha is on the other side of studio to bring you Kurunzi Mashinani. That is Lucy Moura, who has been my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Have yourself a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Life expectancy in Japan is among the highest in the world. Japanese men live on average to 82 and women to 88. The secret to this longevity is to be found in everyday life. It's long been known that exercise is effective at maintaining health. Japan's Radio Taiso program dates back to 1928. This morning radio broadcast guides people through a system of calisthenic exercises set to music. The program is still immensely popular, with people of all ages gathering each morning to start their day by working out together. Exercising daily also makes people more aware of their health. I had an operation on my shoulder and it left me with a lot of pain. The arm swinging exercises got rid of the ache in my shoulder. Regular daily exercise within your personal ability is one sure key to good health. If you don't use your body, of course you'll start to get aches in your muscles and joints. Exercise done within the range where it doesn't cause pain is the best way to maintain health and functionality. Another thing about Japan is that most people here get a comprehensive annual health checkup. For a long time, Japanese companies have considered it their duty to provide health checks for their employees. Annual checkups are highly effective in spotting health problems before they become serious. Regular medical exams let us discover any problems while they're still at an early stage. This makes them far easier and quicker to treat. Daily exercise and catching illnesses early help keep people healthy. Just as important are Japanese eating habits. The traditional Japanese meal is said to consist of soup and 3 dishes. These are in addition to rice, of course. A main dish of fish or meat is accompanied by side dishes chosen from a wide range of healthy ingredients. And no Japanese meal would feel complete without miso soup, made from fermented soybeans. A typical Japanese meal is well balanced with all the nutrients our body needs. Ikeda Reiko, now 84, has long devoted herself to promoting the value of Japanese food culture. She's a firm believer in teaching children about nutritionally balanced meals so they develop healthy eating habits. We must teach the new generation about our food tradition. Today's children need to know the benefits of the balanced approach to food that I was taught as a child. Most Japanese schools now have classes in nutrition and healthy eating habits called shoku-iku. Ikeda, still vigorous in her 80s, attributes her good health to more than just diet, though. The key is to have a goal in life, something you've set your heart on and will never stop trying to achieve. This will give purpose to your days and you'll always stay motivated and full of energy. Many in Japan today can expect to live to over 100. But the most important thing is to be able to enjoy life right to the end. That's where having a goal helps. I think it's really important for every senior to have their own goals, their personal objectives. It's not enough to simply live long and stay healthy. We should also want to accomplish something that gives meaning to our time on Earth. More and more people are thinking this way. Staying healthy, active and motivated, the key to a long and fulfilling